Oh, there, it's full screen. Better.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this bi-monthly episode. Is that right? Bi-monthly is twice a month of the Magical Human Show. Welcome, everyone. We moved to the Monday because we were busy, but we also are nearer the full moon, which is the early hours of Wednesday. Is that right? And we're heading into eclipse season. Oh God, we're going into a eclipse with Pisces. Is that right, Claire? Tell me what this means. Do you know?
Yes. So the full moon is on Wednesday the 18th at around 1:43 GMT. So I guess that means 2:43 BST. So yeah, always have to add that extra hour on at the moment. But like if anyone's awake at that time in the morning, then you've got problems. You need to be asleep. You need to look into that. But yeah, it's a super moon and it is a partial, as you said, a partial eclipse in Pisces, in Sun in Virgo, Hazel moon. So it's powerful, this one.
Or what? Are we letting things go? Are we bringing things in? Are we having spiritual awakening?
We're having things come up. Hazel brings the unseen to the surface. So
things that we don't want.
Pardon?
Things that we don't want to come up, or is it just you get what you get?
I would say that, yeah, I would say that we're looking at kind of past life stuff. I would say we're looking at stuff that's happened to us in our lives that we've kept, like we've not chosen to look at. I would say that the kind of whole gravitational pull of all the planets, like where they're all sitting, is like this huge kind of like bringing up, and it's not just happening to us, as always, it's happening in the wider community across the board. So it's very kind of much a moon for meditation and inward journeying and time to self, to see how self fits. This is not a time for being active in the full moon. It's like come into yourself and work out what's going on for you. That's the best way to serve the planet, I think, is to look at what's going on for you. Would you agree with that, June?
That sounds spot on. I mean, I've been listening to the other wise women that we all know and love, and that's very much echoing what they're saying too. Yeah. Yeah, it feels right. I mean, right now it's been a process though, hasn't it? This is not just this month. It's like been for several months. And if we're looking at the Chinese energy waves and all that kind of stuff, the dragon, and it was all about wood energy and sowing seeds, and now we're actually potentially, if we've sown seeds earlier in the year, they're now coming to fruition, and hopefully we're going to be quietly contemplating our harvest, because we're coming up to harvest time.
We are. We've got the second harvest on Saturday or Sunday, actually, in this country. So yeah, the autumn equinox. Yes, ma bonne. So it's very much a time of reflection upon what you have created with the seeds you have sown, and finding the balance as well. It's also when we waken up our shadow sides and give thanks to our light sides. So as we make the crossover into longer nights and shorter days, and yeah, so that personal introspection continues. As I mean, this is the card I just drew in an oracle card reading I just gave live, which is, can you read it?
If the world around you
now
seems turbulent, stop.
Okay. Yeah.
So is this about you can't see through boiling water, so don't make decisions when everything's chaotic? Is it that kind of feel?
Yeah, and see what's coming up in that boiling water, because the boiling water will be cleansing, but may scold you before it cleanses you.
Joy.
Don't need to stick your finger in it to know it's boiling.
Yeah, but some of us do it anyway because it looks so pretty.
And can I also bring in, last Friday was Friday the 13th, which we were going to talk about. Then obviously we didn't meet on Friday, because Friday the 13th is always seen as, the bad day, everything's going to go wrong, oh my goodness. But actually it's what I've read or heard is it's about the feminine, and the feminine cycle is 13 times a year. And it was a day for priestesses and things like that. Claire, I'm hoping you know a little bit more.
I have written a blog on this. Yeah, so it's Friday the 13th is definitely feminine. 13 has always been a feminine number, as you alluded to. The 13 cycles a woman has, the 13 moon cycles we have in the year. 1 and 3 is 4, which is the number, sacred number for domesticity, and is linked to solid foundations, the heart, and to Cancer, which is representative of the home. And it was a feared number because it represents female divine power. And we've lived in a world, in a culture, in an epoch of era of time where, you know, divine feminine power has been something to be fearful of and thus therefore contained. And so we've got this kind of revival going on, but people have taken this really far. I mean, I think we've discussed this before. It's like horror movies of Friday the 13th and, you know, all that kind of stuff around something that is unknown and scary and dark and twisted and all this kind of stuff, when actually it's just life and Mother Nature and really rather beautiful and wonderful. So people, yeah, typically look at it when it falls on a Friday as well, because Friday is Venus Day, vendredi, viernes. You've got this whole thing of like the ultra souped up power of the feminine self. So yeah, I had my phone stolen on Friday the 13th. So
Interesting. What are you reading into that? What does that mean, do you think?
I felt that Spirit was saying to me, just shut up.
You're not allowed to communicate.
Just shut up and just have some peace and quiet and feel like what it feels like to not be able to be contacted. And I have to report that I slept very well the 24 hours that I didn't have access to my phone. And it was quite an interesting position to find myself in, because there was the crime. So who did that? You know, it was quite an unusual crime. The phone is not exactly desirable, so I don't know what's going on there. But it was in a place where, I mean, no one could believe it that ran the cafe. They were going, no one does that in here, in this kind of place. And it's like, well, they clearly did. So it was just all a bit weird. So there was that kind of like, oh, I could really get angry about this. And then there was this, oh, but I can't do anything about it. So maybe I should just be quite chilled with this. So yeah, it's interesting.
Was there not a more convenient way Spirit could have shared that message with you? Because that's a bit of a pain to sort out, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's less of a pain than you think. I mean, yeah, I'm sure the repercussions of it will just keep on giving. But these days you can wipe your phone using Google from a distance. So if someone tries to switch it on, you can get it wiped. Because I have Android, I'm not an Apple customer. I couldn't track it. I thought I'd be able to track it. You can't track it. But and the police weren't interested at all. And you know, it was just like, okay, like, but actually a lot of stuff just copies over because we live in this digital world. So other than images, and I haven't lost all my images, I've gone back to an old handset, so I've lost a lot of WhatsApp messages, but maybe I needed to lose them. I just think there's ways of looking at things, and I'm just choosing to see this as just like, oh, okay. I mean, you were just telling me you've got 4 phones, so you
3
would,
phones, 4 numbers. Yeah. Helps me compartmentalize the different jobs that I do and be boundaried and switch things off when I need to. It helps me to keep my brain clean. If it was one handset, it would be chaos for me.
I think it's brilliant.
I can hear. Makes sense. I did think of getting a second phone, but not done it yet. No.
And it's interesting because on Friday, because I work online, my laptop was doing an update and I had 2 clients in a row, and the update just kind of, I don't know what it did to my computer. I could turn the computer on and off, but the screen just did nothing. I was like, but this is my business. I have to work. Thankfully, I could use another device and had to apologize to the clients and go, I know it looks a bit weird. I'm on a different device, thinking the laptop that was not very old had broken, but actually it just needed some time to do whatever it was doing. But that was incredibly frustrating, but thankfully had other methods. But that was Friday the 13th as well. And something else broke, the sink broke.
Oh.
It was just those awful push-in plug things. I hate them. And it just jammed, which is fine. I had one in the cupboard. My brother came and fixed it, but it was just an irritation because for 2 days then we had to use the bath to wash our hands. But it was the fact it was 2 things that had gone wrong. I was like, okay, what's the third? I can't remember what, something else did happen, but small. But it's the minor irritations But I didn't attribute it to Friday the 13th because in my head that was a feminine virtue, you know, good day, and
Yeah.
I kind of separated those things. It was the things happening, three things, which just happens all the time.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm.
It's strange that, isn't it?
Mm.
Why do you think female power is so frightening? I have my own thoughts, but I mean, I just wondered what you thought, because I just think that this has been very plainly the agenda for a very long time. And why are we so terrifying? We're quite nice, really. We're useful, you
But
know.
that's what, maybe that's why, because we're useful, the masculine doesn't feel as useful because of them, other than providing their seed. What actually are they around for? And we figured out how to do that without them. But you know, that takes you back to the witch trials, isn't it? Because it wasn't witches, it was burning women that were medical or knew stuff or were midwives, and it was about taking that power down or back or removing it. And I think it's something about the female, the feminine is so powerful that the masculine have to have control, you know, the controlling of the birthing in America and all that stuff that's going on, the Roe v. Wade. It's like the power is coming away from the masculine and they're holding on for dear life. But this has just been going on for so many years. I think it is time for the feminine, but they're not going to go down without a fight, I don't think. I think the fear of the masculine is that when the feminine, if we become a matriarchal society, we will treat them the way they've treated us. And I don't think we will.
Of course we won't. Of course we won't. We don't need
But that's my
revenge. We
theory.
just need them to behave.
Yeah. Claire, what do you think?
I think that it's a jealousy-based fear of the ability to give birth. I think it's also the fact that women, because we have these cycles, we have I feel we find it much more easy to get in touch with spirit, to get in touch with our emotions, to journey, to basically, because we can have life inside us, we're more in harmony. And I think that men feared that. Also, we are their mothers of sons. Like, we're not all mothers of sons, but what I mean is we give birth to men. So there's kind of like, it's a power thing. And so it's a fear, it's a power thing, it's a jealousy thing. That stems from that. And I don't know if I mentioned it. I think I did last time. Did I say about psychonauts last time? They tend to be men, like these psychonauts that go off and have all these psychotropic plant journeys and mushroom journeys, and they have to keep going on all these journeys to find themselves. And it's easier for them to go on a journey than it is for them just to sit and meditate. Whereas for a woman, we go on a journey through our hormonal roller coasters every kind of, couple of weeks. We've got ovulation, then we've got our periods, then we have puberty, we have menopause, we're journeying, children. And so, yeah, that's what I think I also think it was a necessary stage of development for men to find out what it felt like to have men in charge, and women to feel that kind of how it felt to be men. So I think everything is necessary for understanding the big picture. Like, there's nothing more powerful than experiential situations.
It does kind of feel like we're moving out of the male cycle and into the female.
Oh,
because of this
yeah.
reactiveness that's going on. There's like a debate on social media about man versus bear. So it says, if you were walking alone in a wood, would you rather come across a man or a bear? And all the women are going bear. And the men are going, no, hold on a minute, it's not all men, we're not that bad. And then everything they come back with, we're just proving that it's the bear that we would, because at least we know what's going to happen with the bear. They're going to kill us and it's over. The atrocities that men bring are far more scary. It's just a really interesting debate, I think.
Yeah, it is. I totally agree with you. I was interested what you were saying about, what were you talking about is going on in America with the bodies and the birthing?
So that when they overturned Roe versus Wade, they're now trying to ban abortion, and then they're trying to, I think they're going after birth control, and it's about forced birthing, because I believe this is across the globe, certainly in the West, birth rates are dropping because capitalism has made life so impossible. You know, people can't afford houses. A job will not sustain a family now. You have to work 3 jobs. And people are going, I'm not bringing a child into this life. A, I can't afford it. I can't provide them the life I want to. And so birth rates are dropping, which means there aren't any workers. So in desperation, they're trying to control women and their bodies and force you to have babies. Like they're getting rid of, I think they have, or they're trying to get rid of no-fault divorce. And you can't divorce if you're pregnant. So a woman can't divorce a man if they're pregnant. They're forcing them to stay. I don't know if it's happened or it's in the process of, but it's a terrible mess. And it's this kind of like you know, when you sort of say people are like, when you shouldn't hold on so tight because you're just going to push them further away. And it just feels they're holding tighter and tighter and tighter to the control around women because they want them to create children for the future workforce. And women are going, no, I don't think so. It's just a whole thing. And usually where America is, the UK isn't far behind, which is a bit worrying.
But there's also dropping birth rate because of terrible infertility issues that have come across because of all the hormone disruptors in the water supply and in the food and in the air. So and in medications, you know, there's certain medications that have now been proven to ruin people's fertility, and there are many younger people not able to have children. So then there's all of the assisted reproduction things. So it's again back in the control of the medical establishment, whether they be male or female. I don't think there's a dividing line here. I think it's a male sort of structure, but there's women who are quite actively involved in this whole business. And the business of gender reassignment and stuff like that. Saw an interesting discussion with Andrew Gold and Peter Tatchell about gender the other day. Have a look. It's very, very interesting.
Give us the
byline. Very respectful, both very different viewpoints, but very respectful and very interesting. But regarding the fertility situation, more and more women are unable to have kids just because they can't, and not that many people can afford, you know, artificial reproduction stuff, and so, you know, there's few people being born, really.
It's kind of interesting, isn't it? Because, you know, on one agenda, they're trying to reduce the world population because they're saying there's too much demand for resources, natural resources. So they've got this whole, I believe, globalized agenda to reduce the population, yet the population is naturally reducing because of the enormous pressure and strain and artificiality that they're creating and forcing us to get involved in. And yet
it's
they're trying to bring in Handmaiden's Tale. It's like, you know, it's like, whoa.
It's the wrong section of the population. They want to get rid of the old because they don't want to pay the pensions. They want to get rid of the sick because they don't want to pay the welfare.
And the disabled.
Yeah, sick to say people that aren't contributing fully to the economy as they would wish.
The worker bees. They want to only protect the worker bees.
They want the worker bees, which is what they want you to have babies because they want to create the worker bees.
Yeah, but they're just creating robots for that anyway. Well, so humans are going to be redundant. Oh, let's take this to a more positive place. We're going down that dark
alley. We're going down a rabbit hole.
Down dark alleyways where there's things are lurking to pounce on us. I don't want to be in that place. There's lovely sunshine here, and I'm aware I'm squinting a lot because I can hardly see you guys because of the sun. But yeah, that's not even helping. But yeah, I mean, there is still a lot of really positive things going on because a lot of people are taking back control, and a lot of it is women led. To be honest, isn't it? So I think we are scary because of that, because we get up off our backsides and do stuff.
Yeah, and we're not, as you say, we're not cruel about it, because ultimately we will find a way to bring the male in. We're much more inclusive.
We're birthing the sons. They're our sons and our children, and you know.
Yeah. So. And it's the bigger picture stuff, isn't it? It's not getting caught in the little picture. What I was going to say about what we were discussing is I was wondering if there was being a gender implosion, because basically there was 2 fighting agendas and they were just implode, which is what the planetary alignments are saying, is the fact that all of this stuff is just getting louder and more hollow because none of it makes any sense. And people are going, hang on a minute, how does this work? And it's like, oh, it doesn't. Oh, I've been fooled. So there's a lot of that going on anyway. So huge spiritual awakenings going on, huge
Yes,
universal spiritual awakening, which is what all the solar
absolutely.
flares are about, everything. And this is also what this moon's about. So
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
That's
that will
good.
save the day.
And Nancy Rebecca's Thursday musings last Thursday were very interesting, and she's got a good meditation on there about how to be clear about what you see in the future and how to visualize it and bring it. And she's talking about us being opened up. So yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it again because it's absolutely fascinating about how we are being, in a way, put under such pressure that we're cracking like nuts. It's as it were,
Yeah.
like the nutcracker is squeezing us. But then
What comes out,
yeah,
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 that's what my coach and I were discussing last week, was the fact that he said, think of all the money we're saving on courses by this experiencing we're having of life. People pay good
yeah,
money to have these spiritual awakenings, or learn this spiritual wisdom, and we're learning it just by going from one thing to another. It's like, God, look at it that way. And you're right, it's like people cracking like nuts, because when they're forced and they're put in these crazy situations and they're just thinking, whoa, that's when you get your eureka moment, and then you realize what it's all about, which is how you feel about yourself and spirit.
yeah.
June, did you have a eureka moment? Because you recently lost your clinic, didn't you? And
I didn't lose my clinic.
Sorry.
Let's
You
that.
reframe that how you like.
No,
It's
yeah,
adjustment.
it's not. We collectively have decided to move away from being static in a room and having the room be identified as us, whereas it's the energy that we are bringing. And the large majority of us are women in this group, and we have an outreach team that is available to go out into office spaces and workplaces. We have organized events. We've got an event coming up here in Spark on Sunday for the equinox, and we're going to be doing retreats and things like that. We don't need a base. I need somewhere to see people on a one-to-one basis, which is why I've come here to my friend's space, and I've got another potential space I can do, but I'm also doing home visits, and I feel so much freer not being tied to a structure, tied to a premises, where in fact we may very well not be able to practice if there's any further lockups, as I refuse to call them lockdowns, because what's her name? Is her name? I can't remember. She said I wasn't locked down. I had a key. I wasn't in prison. I could get out. So but I wouldn't want to have a room where I couldn't actually practice from if it came to that. So I think being freer is definitely, so I've let go of everything. I've given away all the furniture that I've been carting around for the last 35 years. Some of it very treasured, but it's gone. And I've let go, and it feels great. So I'm throwing out, shredding, recycling, keeping what's really important, which is the people that I look after.
Because for a while
and the team. The building is not important.
Yeah, because for a while you were worrying about how we're going to pay the rent, how we're going to keep up, and it feels like you've kind of let that all go.
Yeah, it was too much. It was too much. Everything was going into keeping them going, not us. So now we are free. So it's nice. It's good.
Yeah, so like a forced change.
I love change. I always have. Yeah. And
in fact, change when there's a good
happen, I
reason.
initiate it. So but I was being quite stubborn. I really did like that room.
Yeah.
But it's my life is not that room. My life is my life. I want to be able to travel more. I want to go and visit my family when they move to their new places, and other places. I want to go to Egypt and work in that academy for displaced children. And
Okay.
I want
So
to
does
go to
this move
Bosnia.
give
It's
you
the
freedom
pyramids.
for that?
Oh my God. Did you know there's loads of pyramids in Bosnia, by the way?
Yeah.
You
No.
knew. Yeah, you knew. Of course you knew. I just found this out yesterday.
There's pyramids all over the world.
Well, there are, but there's these massive ones.
Yeah,
This one is bigger than the one in Egypt.
a great
The
pyramid.
main one is it's twice the size.
And it's got all these underground tunnels.
Incredible.
You can go into them and basically connect with the
Yeah.
earth under there. Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah. It's becoming more and more obvious that they are there for a purpose, and they're becoming more noticeable and talked about and visited, because now is the time for people to really reconnect with that. I mean, 34,000 years old these are. So it's way before the cataclysmic events of 12,000 years ago. So I think we're going to find out more in the coming times about these and what we were all actually doing there, because I have a feeling we were there.
Oh, I agree. I think we
Yeah.
recycle. Our souls recycle over and over again, accumulating wealth of wisdom from lifetime to lifetime. And I had this my coach was saying that he was, until he was 50, he believed that you just lived for 70 and 10, and you just got your time on earth and you did what you did, and then when you died, you died. And then when he was 50, he had this, I don't know, this huge awakening, and he's been channeling for the last 22 years, and he's the most spiritual person I've ever met. It just goes to show you that anyone can basically have an awakening. And just because your awakening happens now, as opposed to when you were 13 or, whatever, it doesn't have any relevance or reference to how spiritual you can become. There are no limits.
Find
So,
it interesting. There's like a contradiction where sort of the worship of the celebrity and the famous seems to be falling away bit by bit. It's all crumbling, and then all this stuff. The archaeology is still. I always think, how can archaeology still be bringing up new stuff that we haven't found before? We've been doing this for ages, and there's more and more of that coming up. And the celebrity, even Dave Grohl fell from grace. The nice guy, if he can fall from grace, you think, well, there's no hope for any of them. Hollywood's falling apart. They're no longer creating interesting stuff for you to consume because they don't want to pay the writers. So that's all, people are coming away from that stuff and finding, and I think that's all part of this same spiritual awakening, the kind of the surface.
Decentralizing.
Yeah, the surface stuff is falling away and people want something a little bit deeper.
Oh, there's I follow this guy, Mark Devlin, who was a radio DJ. And have you come across him, June? He does these fantastic exposés on the music industry, and he'll run through your favorite people and show you that actually none of them have made the rags to riches story that they are pertaining. They have all got their position through nepotism. Even the black rappers and all that kind of stuff, it's all staged, which I have to say makes me feel better, because you just realize that, because I've seen people, I used to be involved in the music industry myself, like really good people just get nowhere. And it's like, yeah, because you don't have the right connections. And so that whole business of kind of celebrity and these people must be carrying something special.
No.
Just who you know.
Yeah. And I suppose like we mentioned in the last session, I think, about them changing the hertz sound.
Yeah.
Sound, is it
432
sound
to
wave?
440. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to be on board and do that, because I'm sure if any musicians came along with the original hertz, they wouldn't get anywhere, because that's not part of the bigger agenda.
Yeah.
So you have to toe the party line.
And you need the money, you need to be you need to be flushing it into people's ears every 5 minutes, through the radio. It's just crazy.
I would rather have been born after all this stuff fell away, because it feels like it's going to be uncomfortable for a while.
But gently so, Tamar.
I'm looking forward to the outcome. I just hope I'm still around when that happens, because I'm sure that's going to be amazing.
You will be, but it's gentle.
Is it?
It's quite gentle.
We're going to look back and say, we did that.
Yeah,
we got through that. You know what I'm saying? Once we get through it, we're going to go, oh, wow. Yeah, it was worth it. It was painful, but it was worth it. It's like labor. It was painful, but it was worth it.
I thought you meant the Labour Party. I was trying to work
No,
that
darling,
out. I was like,
no, our birthing
yeah,
labors.
yeah, it is. It's like, how am I going to be on the other side of this, or an exam?
Mhm.
And then you get the result and you're like, I was there. I did that.
Yes,
I've kind of
yes.
had enough living through things that will be studied in history books in the future, though. I'm over that now. Can we have a bit of calm for a while?
Yeah, well, that's where we have to find that calm.
We have to
Calm in the
create
center
it.
of the storm. It's so important to be still moment. I mean, this is what Pam Gregory is telling everybody. Schedule something in your diary. Be still. Just if it's 5 minutes, just make an appointment with yourself like you would with anybody else and say, this is my time for being still.
Yep.
So I'm finally learning this instead of dashing
too.
from one thing to the next.
Me too, June. 100%. So,
is there anything else anyone would like to add? It kind of feels like we've come to a natural end there. June, can you share the links for the things you were mentioning? Claire, I can't remember if you mentioned something. Watch back, see what you've mentioned, and let's share the links with everyone.
I've got a patient coming any minute.
Okay.
So
at some
I
point,
won't be able
some
to
point
do it
today.
until later.
Okay.
But
fine.
yeah. Okay.
Brilliant. Right,
Adieu.
we'll see you all around
Even
the
if
next
I do it
new
in the comments, it's all right if I put it in
Yeah,
the comments. Yeah.
moon.
Okay.
See you all at the next new moon.
Take care,
Okay.
guys. Bye.